It's absolutely an honor to be here. As Lisa stated, I'm a pediatric sexual assault nurse examiner. I have performed and or reviewed over 1,500 pediatric forensic exams of children who have been sexually assaulted over the last several years. I need to give a trigger warning that what I'm going to share is extremely difficult to listen to and it's graphic, but I cannot sugarcoat the dire situation that we are in. At my hospital and across the world, and as you saw in that film earlier, we're seeing a very alarming trend, which is there's a huge number of kids who are sexually assaulting other children. Data from the last 10 years from our hospital shows that anywhere from a third to almost half of those committing sexual assaults against children are minors themselves. In fact, the age range most likely to commit sexual assaults are 11 to 15-year-old males, with 14-year-old males being the highest risk to engage in this behavior. It's not just a concern in the United States. This trend is being echoed across many different countries, with the United Kingdom publishing data this year that confirms that the majority of their perpetrators are minors. Before we move forward, I feel compelled to dispel a myth. Many people think that kids who sexually abuse other kids are always victims of sexual abuse themselves. This is not true. In a small percentage of cases, the offender does have a history of sexual abuse, but there are other more likely variables of why a child will sexually harm other children, including having a history of neglect, attachment trauma, or physical abuse. However, an increasingly common theme that we're hearing from offenders is that pornography is what led them to harm other children. Pornography. There's a correlational and causational relationship between pornography use and sexual violence, and there are over 100 peer-reviewed research articles that detail this connection. Let me give you a real-life example of what this looks like. My team took care of a 4-year-old male who disclosed a traumatic assault at the hands of his 11-year-old sister. She had played pornography on her iPad during the assault to show him what he should do next time that this happened. Or the 12-year-old female elementary student who was brutally raped in a parking lot by a 16-year-old male she had met online. She did not think she had been sexually assaulted. In her words, she had been looking at and masturbating to pornography every day for the last 7 years, which started when her parents gave her an iPad. She accidentally stumbled onto pornography at the age of 5, and she had been looking at it every day since. The violent images had desensitized her to the point that she could not recognize she had been sexually abused. Children are very susceptible to what they see in pornography. The more they view it, the more they want to act out what they're seeing. Many kids see porn accidentally the first time that they see it, and what they're watching is extremely violent and degrading. 90% of scenes show violence towards women in pornography. Popular themes that our kids are seeing when they're online are things like extremely violent anal penetration, strangulation, gagging, multiple men penetrating one woman, and ejaculation on the face. As the New York Times recently pointed out, many teenagers are violently strangling each other during sexual encounters and assaults because they're copying what they're seeing in pornography, without the faintest idea that this can cause brain damage and even be lethal. It should not be surprising to us that so many kids are acting out what they're seeing in pornography, because a recent study estimated that 2/3 of adolescents are currently addicted to online pornography, including high rates of female addiction as well. Research shows us pornography is in fact addicting, and the adolescent brain is very vulnerable when it comes to seeing explicit material. One of the main reasons is because we have mirror neurons in our brain. Dr. Sharon Cooper, a forensic pediatrician, stated imagery definitely affects children. When a child sees an image of adult pornography, the mirror neurons that are in their brain convince them that they're actually experiencing what they're seeing. This is a frightening reality when 1 in 3 kids say they've seen hardcore porn by the age of 12. When kids see pornography, the mirror neurons in their brain cause them to become prematurely sexualized, and they will want to act out or imitate what they're seeing online. This was seen when my team took care of a 13-year-old female who had been raped by her 16-year-old brother. He stated, "I was looking at porn in my room and I couldn't stop thinking about it," as he began his assault. Not only is pornography affecting the brains of children, but as Cole said, it's also affecting their bodies. It is causing erectile dysfunction in adolescents. One study showed that 1/3 of adolescents they surveyed reported having erectile or sexual dysfunction related to porn use. Pornography is so accessible that most kids will see it by the age of 11, if not much earlier, with screens being virtually in every home and school. A research study done last year showed that 1 in 3 kids are accessing porn at school, and almost half of them are using their school-issued device. I've heard multiple stories of kids who are showing each other porn on their phones in class, on the bus, at sleepovers, which makes it impossible for parents to monitor what their kids are being shown when they're not at home. In fact, a colleague of mine recently told me about a high school in rural mid-America. The school monitored the students' school-issued laptops for 1 month. They only had 140 students, so this was a tiny high school, and in 1 month there were 13,000 hits to Pornhub. That is every student going to Pornhub 3 times a day, every day, for a month on their school-issued device. It's mind-blowing the amount of pornography that kids are watching every day. A recent study showed that when kids view porn, they think that what they're seeing is a realistic portrayal of sex, and many boys in this study revealed they wanted to imitate this behavior. So let's think about this. I recently heard a therapist say a sexual psychopath can only be sexually aroused when someone is being harmed. If 90% of pornography is showing violence towards women, and pornography is setting the arousal template for children today, what are we creating as a society? I will never forget the 14-year-old female who was gang raped in a public bathroom by 3 14-year-old males. Some of her peers were outside of the bathroom as her trauma unfolded, and instead of her peers intervening and helping her, they cheered and clapped when she walked out of the bathroom, as if her gang rape was a badge of honor, because in porn, it is. Or when my team saw a 10-year-old male who had been brutally assaulted by his 14-year-old cousin. His cousin live streamed the assault on Instagram without a second thought. This 10-year-old had genital injuries because the assault was so violent. As if all of this is not overwhelming enough, pornography is teaching kids that self-exploitation is normal and even desirable. Many kids are so desensitized to seeing naked bodies that it's not a red flag when strangers ask them for nudes online. In fact, it's a compliment because someone thinks you're hot. We've taken care of teenagers who are being sex trafficked through sites like OnlyFans, who fail to recognize they're being exploited because the creation of pornography and consumption of their bodies has not only become the norm, it's now the goal. We've seen 11 and 12-year-olds who have exchanged hundreds of nude photos and videos in exchange for gift cards and money, which is trafficking. But because of the societal grooming and normalization of porn, they have no idea they're being exploited. As we see the tide changing with youth, one of the most unsettling trends is this. Females are now the ones asking for sexual violence during sexual encounters. Teenage boys have recently been disclosing that girls are asking to be strangled or for their peers to ejaculate on their faces because they don't want to be seen as boring, or in their words, it's lame if you only want vanilla sex. The fallout that's happening to our kids because of unrestricted access to pornography is overwhelming, and most adults have no idea that this is happening with kids, which makes it imperative that we act to protect our kids from an industry that does not care if it traumatizes them. We have to step up because we're losing a precious generation of kids who believe sexual violence is the norm. Thank you.